Welcome back, Sinister Plots fans, for another deep dive. And today we're continuing our journey through Aaron Hill's Metalstar, picking up right where we left off last time.
With chapter 4, yeah, we're really getting into the thick of it now.
Yeah, and just to remind everyone, we did a whole deep dive on chapters 1 through 3, so if you need a refresher, you can find that on our website, www.metalstar.us. Today we have chapter 4. We've got the Luminarium, which, as you guys know, is the Annotated Companion.
It's full of great stuff.
It is so much good behind-the-scenes info and just like connecting some of the dots. And even some details about the characters we wouldn't get just from the chapters themselves.
It's like a backstage pass to his brain, which is a little scary, but also really cool.
So, chapter 4, this is where stuff really starts to pop off.
It does.
So we've got Jake and Poe, and they are leading the human resistance. Now, remember, we're after this alien invasion.
Right.
And they're going to try to launch a raid on this alien slave camp.
Yes, their first big offensive move.
Yes, very big. And this is near one of those gardens we've been hearing about.
Yes, and the Luminarium really goes into detail about the garden, which is really cool. This is one of the reasons I love the Luminarium, because in his writing, he can't spend, pages and pages describing every little detail, but the Luminarium allows him to kind of expand on that.
Yeah, it's such a good companion piece for that reason.
It is.
So, okay, let's back up a little bit. Talk about Jake.
Okay.
So Jake is our wasteland warrior. We've talked about him. He's got kind of this reluctant hero vibe going on. He's had a really tough life, lost his parents. He's wandering the wasteland, and he's definitely got a chip on his shoulder about what happened to his family and, to humanity in general. But he's struggling with this idea of leadership.
He is.
He's very much driven by revenge. He wants to make the aliens pay.
Yeah, the aliens are going to get it.
But he's not necessarily the most strategic thinker.
Well, I think it's a couple things. One, he's clearly got this tactical mind. Remember all those military strategy books he was reading?
Yeah.
That's got to be coming in handy now. And two, I think the bunker residents are just desperate for hope.
Yeah.
They're tired of hiding. They want to fight back. And Jake represents that for them.
And it's not just like a blind faith thing either. Hill really lays out the strategy. They're breaking into smaller groups using the terrain for cover. They're emphasizing surprise.
Exactly. It's a well-thought-out plan as much as it can be in their situation.
Right, because they're working with limited resources, scavenged weapons.
Yeah, they're making the best of what they have. And there's this one scene where Poe is trying to tell everyone the plan.
Like, be patient.
Be patient, be smart about this.
We have to work together.
And Poe actually says something like, we strike as one.
Oh, yeah.
Not as individuals driven by rage.
Oh, that's a good line.
Yeah, and it's so perfect because it's totally aimed at Jake.
Oh, it's totally calling him out.
It is. And it made me think of this thing in the Luminarium.
Oh, yeah, tell me.
About how Jake is kind of like this classic tragic hero.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he wants to do good.
Like he wants to save everyone.
Right, he wants to save everybody and get revenge for his parents.
But he's so messed up.
But he's got these flaws.
His anger issues.
His anger, his impulsiveness.
It could be his downfall.
Exactly, and, we're rooting for him.
We want him to succeed.
We do, but we're also kind of worried.
Yeah, like is he going to make a mistake that gets everyone killed?
Yeah, that's a real possibility, and that's what makes the ending of chapter 4 so crazy.
Okay, the cliffhanger.
Yeah, he just rushes into the slave camp.
By himself.
Ahead of everyone else.
So dumb.
I know, and he comes face to face with like 20 Sky Reapers.
Oh, no.
Yeah, these guys are bad news.
But getting back to the story. This raid on the alien garden, that's seriously intense, like sneaking through the wastelands at night using abandoned buildings for cover.
And the stakes are so high, because these gardens aren't just farms, they're slave labor camps. The Sky Reapers are forcing humans to work for them.
It's terrifying when you think about it. And that's where the Luminarium really adds this whole other dimension. Like we learned that the year is 2354. Earth has been devastated by this magnetic pole reversal, and the Sky Reapers are terraforming the planet to suit their needs, with these gardens pumping out argon gas.
It's a chilling vision of the future, and it makes you question, what would it be like to live in a world where your home planet is being transformed into something alien? Would you fight back, even knowing the odds are stacked against you?
It's a question that I think a lot of us would rather not answer, but it's one that Hill forces us to confront. And it's interesting, too, because we're also getting these glimpses into what John Darby's up to. He went solo. He chose not to stay in the cloning facility.
Yeah, went his own way.
And now we see him kind of mastering these survival skills, even encountering those weird creatures again.
Right, the ones we saw back in chapter 2, I think it was.
Yeah, but there's something about his journey that feels really purposeful.
Oh, definitely.
The Luminarium mentions this motto he has: improvise, adapt, overcome.
It's very fitting for the situation.
It is. And, thinking about his Native American heritage, it feels very connected to that.
It's like a spiritual guide for him, guiding his path through this new world.
But speaking of New World, let's talk about IDEO, because she drops a bomb in Chapter 4. No pun intended.
Literally a bomb with that impact gel she's created.
Right. I mean, that's clearly going to be a game changer for the raid. But what I found even more intriguing was how she casually mentions this hidden city called Solos.
Solas is like this big question mark hanging over everything, right?
Like, what is it exactly?
Yeah, is it some kind of technological utopia? Or is it more like a lawless black market?
Maybe it's a little bit of both. Like a haven, but also kind of dangerous.
Exactly. They might have advanced tech like EDO's impact gel, but they're also operating in the shadows. Maybe they have to make deals with some shady characters to survive.
It definitely adds a layer of moral ambiguity to this story, which I always find intriguing.
For sure. It makes you think about the choices people have to make in extreme situations.
And who gets to decide what's right or wrong in this new world?
Exactly.
It's not so black and white anymore.
And while we're pondering the mysteries of Solos, I'm also curious about the other survivors in the bunker. Like Poe, the spiritual one.
He seems to have a calming influence on the group, but we don't know much about his backstory yet.
The Luminarium describes him as a master of Qi, someone who's found inner peace amidst all this chaos.
It's interesting, right? Because he represents a different kind of strength.
Definitely. It's not just about physical power, it's about mental resilience, too.
We know he's this voice of reason, the level-headed leader.
Right. Always calm, collected.
But apparently he's also a practitioner of this specific martial art called moving water.
Moving water. I like that.
Yeah, it emphasizes using your opponent's strength against them.
Very Poe.
Right. And it makes me think, is this more than just a fighting style? Is it like a metaphor for how he's navigating this whole post-apocalyptic world?
Oh, I like that it's about finding balance, staying flexible, rolling with the punches, so to speak.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, then there's Rensa, the crowbar-wielding badass.
Yeah, she's tough.
But the Luminarium reveals a softer side. She's got this thing for animals, especially birds.
Ah, that's unexpected.
It is, right? Like,
Yeah.
you wouldn't expect that from this hardened survivor, but it adds another layer to her character. She's quickly becoming a fan favorite.
Oh, absolutely. She's tough, resourceful, and she doesn't take any crap from anyone.
I love her.
Yeah.
The Luminarium reveals that she was raised in this place called the Demimonde, which is basically like this underground world where survival depends on being ruthless and cunning.
So it's no wonder she's so good at reading people and gathering information.
Right. She's got this street smarts that the others just don't have.
And then there's Dade, the joker of the group, always ready with a quip.
Even in the face of danger, which, I find kind of endearing. But the Luminarium hints that his humor might be a coping mechanism.
Yeah, like he's using it to mask his vulnerability, which might explain his strange connection with Renza.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely something going on there. They bicker constantly. But there's also this underlying tension.
Maybe even a hint of affection.
Ooh, I love a good slow burn romance.
Me too.
Okay, but what about Sarah? We haven't talked about her yet. She's still stuck in that Sky Reaper slave camp.
Right, forced to work in those creepy gardens.
Does the Luminarium give us any clues about what she's going through?
It does, and it's pretty intense. Remember how we talked about that whole dual consciousness thing?
Yeah.
Well, the Luminarium goes deeper. It suggests Sarah's experiencing a fragmented sense of self caught between her past life memories and her current reality.
So it's like she's two people trapped in one body.
Exactly. And it's not just psychological, it's a physical reality caused by that cloning process and those implanted memories.
That's messed up on so many levels, and it makes her fight for survival even more complex.
It's not just about escaping, it's about reclaiming her identity.
The memories of her past life clashing with her newly formed mind.
It's a heartbreaking situation. To be trapped not only physically, but also mentally. It makes you wonder if she'll ever be able to reconcile these two parts of herself.
It's a question that I don't think has an easy answer, and it's one that I'm sure we'll be exploring more in future chapters. But for now, I think we've covered a lot of ground, and we've definitely got a lot to think about.
Absolutely. Chapter 4 is a turning point in the story, and it leaves us with more questions than answers, but that's what makes it so compelling.
Exactly. We're hooked. and we can't wait to see what happens next.
Me too. I have a feeling things are about to get even more intense.
Oh, I'm sure of it.
Hmm.
But before we dive into those cliffhangers
Hmm.
and burning questions, I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier. We get our first glimpse of these alien airships in this chapter.
Yes, and they are creepy.
Creepy is the right word for it. Okay. So they're described as organic and metallic, almost like living creatures. And there's no visible means of propulsion.
No wings, no jets, no propellers.
Nothing. And Hewell describes this sound that they make as like a low hum that like vibrates in your bones.
Very unsettling.
It's unsettling. And I think it really underscores that technological disparity between the humans and the aliens, right?
Absolutely. It's not just, lasers and spaceships. This is
Mhm.
something else.
It's very alien, and it's not something the humans can even comprehend at this point.
Right.
And you get this feeling, like you said, this creepy feeling that this is a force that is just so beyond human understanding. It's terrifying. But even with all this darkness, Hill still gives us these glimmers of hope.
Oh, yeah.
Like characters like Jake Poe, John Darby, they're finding strength in unexpected places. They're pushing back against these insane odds.
And Sarah, too, don't forget about her.
Right, Sarah?
She's still trapped, but she's showing some serious resilience. And the Luminarium hints that her connection to that alien vegetation might be changing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like she's starting to understand its power on a deeper level.
So you're thinking she could use that to her advantage?
It's possible, right? Imagine Sarah wielding the very force that's transforming Earth against the Sky Reapers.
That would be epic.
Talk about turning the tables.
It would, and it kind of ties into this theme that the Luminarium keeps highlighting. Human ingenuity and resilience.
Yeah.
Even in the darkest times, we find a way.
Exactly. And it's not just about individual strength. It's about connection, too.
Okay.
People coming together to fight for a common goal. We see it in the bunker community, that potential alliance between Jake and Idio.
It's like even in this broken world, human connection is what gives us hope, the strength to keep going.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what are your final takeaways from Chapter 4 and the Luminarium? What are you most excited to see as the story unfolds?
Honestly, I'm blown away by how intricate and thought-provoking this world is that Hill's created. It's not just action and adventure. There's this whole layer of social commentary, philosophical questions. It's really got me thinking.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm dying to know what happens to Sarah.
Hmm.
Will she break free from that slave camp? Will she master that alien power and use it for good?
Mm-hmm.
So many questions.
I know, and I have a feeling Hill has some serious twists and turns up his sleeve. We're just getting started.
All right, Sinister Plots listeners, that's our deep dive on Metalstar Chapter 4 and the Metalstar Luminarium.
We've barely scratched the surface of this incredible story, so make sure to head over to www.metalstar.us for more info, bonus content, and updates on the series. And don't forget to share your own theories and predictions using #MetalstarDeepDive.
We love hearing from you guys.
Until next time, keep those pages turning and stay sinister.